What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the shack and to part 2 of the Globe Scout Model 680 that we're checking out here, just an initial checkout. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure to go back and watch that first, which got us to this point. But now we're out in the shack, we've got everything hooked up. Excuse the mess, I've just kind of cobbled it in here for a quick test without actually really putting things together for a long-term setup. I'm going to go ahead and power up my TS820 so that we can monitor things. We are on 3622, so let's get there. And it doesn't make a huge difference what we're listening on. Right now we're listening on a 10 meter antenna, which I guess is not hooked up because I've got wires crossed everywhere. So let me just switch this around. And my 80 meter antenna is having issues right now. I need to get that solved, but for receiving purposes, shouldn't make too much of a difference, especially considering our transmitter is almost touching our receiver, so we wouldn't really need an antenna at all. We could just stick a coat hanger in there. Okay, so we're hooked up there. What I've got on the transmitting side is our 680 running into my power meter. That way we can actually see if it's putting out any power. For now, I'm just going to kind of turn this down. So, we tuned this up inside on part 1, and I haven't touched anything, so everything should be ready to go there. So we'll just go ahead and turn our on switch on. Oh, you know what? If we plug in the radio, that would avoid a lot of troubleshooting. Okay, go ahead and turn our power switch on. There you can get a much better look at that filament lighting. I might look at improving that. There's a list of modifications I would like to go through on this, which I will definitely make a video on if that's the case. Just going to let that warm up for a second, and now we'll go ahead and flip our transmit switch to transmit. You can see our plate light comes on, and I just want to give this a second. As I mentioned on part 1 and in the manual, it doesn't really discuss a warm-up time, and it is 46 degrees out here right now, so I definitely want to give this a second before we try transmitting. Okay, for the fun of it, I'm going to turn the volume on our receiver down. Oh, we are on CW mode. Let's not forget that. And for the fun of it, I want to start by watching our output power. This might actually show up better if I turn the light off. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, you can see that a little better there. Okay, so we're just going to take a look. I guess first we better double check our meter on the radio, see if we're modulating. Yes, we are. And I better make sure we're hooked up correctly. We've got our output going to the input on the meter, and then our output on the meter going to the dummy load. So let's go ahead, and we're on the 200 watt scale right now. This is not putting out anywhere close to that, so we might not even move the needle. No, we don't. So let's switch this down to the 20 watt scale, and we're going to go to peak power. Yep, let's see if we're doing anything there. No. So that's interesting. We're not showing any power. You know what? I think I need to power the meter for the PEP function to function. So I'm going to power this back up, and I'm going to go back to the 200 watt scale. We don't want to risk pushing too much power and maxing out our meter. Now let's see if anything happens. Hey, we are putting out about 20 watts of power. So it's a good thing we went down, or else we'd be maxing that out on the 20 watt scale. Okay, now the fun begins. We're going to turn up our receiver nice and loud, and let's go ahead and give a CQ call here. How about that? We're transmitting. So now we need to figure out what's going on with our tone. And that's something I am not 100% sure on. And I also need to pick up a mic connector for this old style of mic so that we can give voice a try, because that's my preferred mode anyway. But I am thrilled. This thing is modulating and it's getting out on the air basically without doing anything. All I did, as I mentioned on part 1, is replace the fuse holder. I'm planning to replace the line cord and a couple capacitors. Obviously need to check out the resistors and make sure everything's okay as far as resistance values, which I somewhat doubt is the case. I need to pick up an octal plug and get that soldered correctly, and we're going to get those capacitors redone so that we can put it back in the cabinet, or at least set it down flat. I would also like to check all my tubes. They are all lighting and functioning, but I want to make sure they're functioning well. So anyway, for now, I am very impressed. We're getting out, as you can see, which is very cool. Let's see if we can tune that in any better. Let's see if there's any sort of a tone. I guess we'll see if I can set you up so that you can watch this. I made sure, I just double checked my grid current, and it was just a touch high, so I brought that back down. We've actually improved our output power a little bit, definitely improved our received signal, but still no tone. So we're going to have to look into that, why we're getting just sort of some distortion versus an actual tone. I would guess that a total checkout of this radio would make a great difference. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I am very excited to get started on this thing, and very encouraged based on how well it's working. So thanks again. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video.